Would you be comfortable with your partner going to coffee with an ex after they admitted being attracted to them? Hey there, I'm Dusty Thunder with a really good story for you. This one's from Relationship Advice and is titled Wife, Female 28, and I, Male 27, ran into her ex at the mall and it sent me for a loop. Hi all, never done anything like this before. New account because I don't know where this is going, if it's even going anywhere. My wife and friends know my Reddit username. Maybe I'm overthinking, maybe not. But something about this past weekend is just sitting weird with me and I don't know if I should trust my gut or if I'm just getting in my own head. So for some context, my wife, Carla, and I have been together for 4 years, married for 5 months. We have a solid relationship, no real trust issues or anything like that. She's an amazing person. I love her endlessly. Something about her that's important to this situation is that she's always been one of those people who holds grudges forever. Like she's still mad about a girl stealing her seat in 9th grade. If you cross her, she holds it against you forever. I think that's what makes this whole thing feel off. We were out shopping on Saturday at a mall about an hour from home. At this point, the day was winding down and we were grabbing a bite to eat in the food court. And that's when we ran into Chris. Now, Chris is the ex. She was with him from 16 to 24. He's the only ex she ever really talks about, and every time she has, it's been something negative. They fought a lot. They had a messy breakup. They were toxic. They cheated on each other, the whole 9 yards. We lived in the same city as him for our whole relationship, and other than a brief blip while dating, we've never once bumped into him, but we run into him an hour away from home on a random day at the mall, and her reaction just sent me for a loop. I was mid-sentence when I saw her eyes just lock onto something behind me, and immediately she lights up. Big smile. Before I even turn to see who it is, she's already standing up to greet him, just beaming. They hug, and not just some quick oh hey hug, like it felt like it was an so amazing to finally see you again hug. That's a red flag. And then suddenly, I'm just standing there, completely shut out of the conversation while they start catching up. I didn't even know who he was. I haven't seen him in years and had to piece it together as they chatted. I thought she would introduce me, but nope. I'm just standing there while she's laughing, fully engaged with him, even some physical touching. At one point, she shoved his arm playfully. I'm not a jealous person, and I honestly have zero problem with her being friends with whomever she chooses, but my impression of her relationship with him was different than what I was seeing. I figured I was overreacting or reading too much into it, but I still felt a bit weird, like a third wheel if I'm being honest, so I just tried to hint that it was time to go by picking up our trays and making it clear I was ready. Neither of them noticed. So I walked off, tossed the trays, came back, still talking. Why'd you come back? That's when you leave, and then when she sees that you're gone, she'd be like, oh shit, I f***ed up. Well, no, you came back and just stood there and watched your relationship implode? Still talking. They finally wrap it up after a few more minutes and they hugged again and then he was off. And then without a single word about it, she just looks at me and goes, okay, let's stop at Lululemon and Indigo before we head out. Like nothing happened. Also, that means she heard you the first time. She chose not to acknowledge you. I kept waiting for her to bring him up, say something about how weird it was, or at least acknowledge him or their conversation in some way, but she just acted like it was nothing. We shopped for another 45 minutes like nothing happened. Once we got in the car, I waited to see if she'd bring it up. She did not. Small talk died off after a few minutes after we got on the highway, and she was just glued to her phone. So I asked who she's texting. She says the group chat. That's her 3 best friends, Cheyenne, Darcy, and Julia. I said, what's the topic of conversation? She smiled and said, I'm telling them how crazy it is that I ran into Chris. I just say, yeah, that was pretty wild. She agrees and says, insane. What are the chances? And then she just kept texting. I kind of expected that to kick off our conversation about it, but it did not. Then, that night at home, after she'd been on her phone the majority of the night with the girls still chatting about it, I decided to bring it up. I told her I felt like a bit of a third wheel when Chris showed up since she didn't introduce me. Felt like I wasn't even there because she didn't introduce me. She lightheartedly said, oh, he knows who you are. Then gave me a quick peck on the cheek. I'm sorry, does that make this okay? Now, I didn't exactly handle this great. I brought it up in a very lighthearted and non-serious tone. That's how I deal with conflict, so it's 100% on me for not communicating where my head was, and I can't fault her for being so nonchalant about it. That worries me for you. I left it there for the night and thought I'd take another stab at it in the next day, so once I'd had some time to process. But it's been days, and I just feel really confused about this whole thing. I'm really struggling to process how I'm feeling about it all, and judging if I even have the right to feel upset. Never run into an ex before, so this is new territory. So I'm making my first Reddit post, honestly not even sure this is the best sub for this. I think this is where this belongs, or if you think this belongs elsewhere, let me know. There's an update before we get into that. Thoughts? Brittany, yeah. He knows who I am, excuse me. This is why learning to communicate your feelings is a BFD. And guess what? They're in year 1 of marriage. And year 1 of marriage is tough. That's when you really learn trial by fire. If you haven't learned by trial by fire, by that point, you're kind of forced through it year 1. You're forced to go through a lot of awkward situations and really discover some things about your partner and yourself that you might not have known before. And I can tell you for a fact, as a dude, we're much less in touch with our feelings. I'd say most of us are much less in touch with our feelings, and learning, it's so hard to communicate because we don't understand them. And this is probably true for most people, like being in touch with your feelings enough to be able to communicate them to another human being, especially your partner, requires a level of self-awareness and self-reflection that is not just hardwired into people, or most people. It's something that I had to learn at the ripe age of 42. Sorry, took a long time. Being able to communicate with your partner and be like, hey, when this happened, I felt this, and I thought maybe it was just a me thing, so I've just been waiting and hoping that, you'd say something else that would put that feeling to bed for me, but it's only intensified, and I only have more problem with it now, so please, can we discuss this and get to the bottom of it, because I don't want to feel this way. Being able to have that conversation requires first knowing what you're feeling enough to put it into words. It's that bridge right there, like recognizing it in a way that allows you to communicate it is really, really difficult. Update! Hi again, everyone. Wasn't sure if I should make a whole new post or edit to add here, but considering how many people commented update me, I think posting a brief update here makes the most sense. Carla and I sat down and had a long talk. She was experiencing emotions similar to mine throughout the week. How can that be, you might ask? After sitting down and using a lot of the top comments here as a guideline to get my feelings out, namely the feeling of being lost and confused, we were able to get a dialogue going and figure out my/our feelings. The biggest realization I had while replying to comments and what was fully realized when Carla and I talked was that I had felt abandoned and disconnected from her for the first time in our relationship. We have a little phrase we say, book page, to signify that our minds, emotions, and hearts are on the same page. We say it a lot because that's just how we feel. When Chris and Carla split at the mall and she just didn't acknowledge it or give any indication that she was ready to sync up our emotions and experiences from that encounter, that's what really threw me for a loop and had me spiraling for days. She knew it was a mistake on her part and had every intention of talking to me and getting back on the same page. She was actually the one to initiate our talk when she got home yesterday. I was planning to wait until after, a bit later after eating, but she kicked it off almost immediately. She was and is incredibly sorry for how I was feeling. She didn't realize it was as severe as it was, which is why she had put off talking until she had figured out her own feelings. I can already predict the comments rolling in saying we're both bad communicators and we both did the same unhealthy thing of bottling up our feelings instead of just talking to our spouse. If that was the norm, I would completely agree with you. This is the first time I've ever experienced this feeling, as I've said, and it's the first time Carla has done this as well. This was an outlier, not the normal rhythm of our relationship. As soon as we were able to talk about our thoughts, those feelings of disconnection went away, and it immediately felt like a 1,000,000-pound weight had been lifted off of my heart. When we started to compare our experiences and what happened, our thoughts and feelings, we went over a lot, so I'm just going to throw things out in point form because the conversation jumped around a lot. Carla feels a fun throwback type of excitement when talking with Chris and reminiscing about high school and old times. He added her on Instagram that night after they ran into each other at the mall. She added him back and they started DMing. And it took you days to find out about this?
That's not a good sign.
No, that's not a good sign. He had broached the idea of meeting up for coffee to catch up when they were talking at the mall. She said she might be open to it, but didn't commit at that point. You just finding this out after a few days? She talked to the girls in the group chat because they were all there during the Chris era and had talked in the past about what meeting up with him again would be like. I told her I tried to check her phone to ease my anxiety, and she said she was sorry the password had changed. Boy, it just keeps getting better and better and better. Yeah, it seems like you guys are really on the same page now, bro. She changed it due to a misunderstanding with an instruction from her new work's mail app.
Do you believe that?
Yeah, totally. totally believe it, man. She changed her phone passcode from my birth year, her birth year, our meeting year, to our meeting year, my birth year, her birth year. Just a reorganization. She had changed it around November or December, and I just hadn't had a need to touch her phone to try to get in. She handed me her phone and let me enter the new code to show me she was being honest. Here, I've had plenty of time to hide the shit I need to hide. The girls' group chat was full of girl talk. There are a couple of people that reached out to me via DM that I've already shared details with, and a few of them say this girls' chat was extremely inappropriate and not okay, while others said it resembled what their girls' chat would look like under the same circumstances and with all the same history and context. Carla does still have some lingering feelings for Chris. It's not something that she feels detracts or impacts her feelings for me at all. She was brutally honest and said it's more of a physical lust attraction, not feelings of love. Okay, I would have a problem with this. Wait. So there's more points here. So you're potentially going to meet up for coffee with this guy. You've been Insta DMing with him, and I'm just finding out about all this shit right now, and you're lusty with him? And it sounds like leading into the presentation of these notes from their discussion, OP's totally okay. Same book, same page, man. We're like this. We're like this. I mean, he's like this, but we're like this. Carla has a very dominant and assertive personality type, and so does Chris. They never worked out as a couple for that reason, but they connected physically really well. You don't say. Our relationship works the opposite way, and she knows that I'm the puzzle piece for her heart and soul, and that no matter anything else, she wants to spend her life with me, and I feel the same way about her. Well, thank goodness you're the puzzle piece for her heart and soul, because he's the puzzle piece for her vajayjay. A lot of the girls' group chat dove into some details about my and Carla's sex life as well as her history with Chris. I learned some things in the chat that Carla had hinted at before to me in conversations or while being intimate that made a lot more sense. I can provide some additional details if people want, but I don't think that's really the point here. Carla said she wanted to meet up with Chris for coffee. She messaged him with me at the end of our talk, and they confirmed for today. It's 1:22 p.m. They met up for coffee at 11 a.m. Checked in with her, and she said it's going really well. They've been there for 2.5 hours, and it's going really well? They're definitely not just having coffee. At minimum, he ordered the scones, and she ordered the sausage roll. Would you be comfortable with your partner going to coffee with an ex after they admitted being attracted to them? No. Would you?
No. Candy doesn't share.
Dusty doesn't share. Nobody. Dusty doesn't share his candy. No. I would not be okay with it. I'm sorry. I don't believe that jealousy is a fruitful use of energy. And I believe that if someone wants to be with you, they'll be with you. And if they don't want to be with you, they won't be with you. And their actions will prove it either way. This is an action proving that my partner would not want to be with me. They'd be proving that to me. I don't need to be jealous. I need to confront them and let them know that this is not okay. And not only am I saying you shouldn't go for the sanctity of our relationship, I'm saying the fact that you want to go means that our relationship is over. Congratulations. Be lusty with Chris. Relive the glory days. Puzzle piece out. Okay, there's a little bit more. I'm sure there's questions that have come up that I haven't answered. These details are the ones that come to the top of my head when I sit and think about our talk and where we're at. Of the dozen or so people that reached out, and I've already updated on this, a couple people don't think I should bother updating because of where this ended up. I figured I owed it to everybody that seems so interested in if we'd had our talk and how it went. Dude, that's the end of the story. He doubled down hard in comments about what? About being okay with where they're at? Same book, same page. They're same bed. And you're okay with that, apparently? No, he's in denial. I firmly believe that OP is in denial right now. That's denial. That is just, there's nothing else. Like, that's denial. And she has a strong, assertive personality and knows that he's the color code white in their relationship. She's bullying him into being okay with it. She's like, no, I'm gonna go do this. If anything, it's gonna make us stronger because I'll be like there and I won't act on it. And then it'll just like strengthen that side of us. But I lust for him. I don't really do that for you. Here's Tater Thunder, ladies and gentlemen. She's got something. What you got?
I just have to ask if she's going to meet him at his pool house or like just in the backyard on the lawn furniture. Like, cause this feels like the same type of situation, right? Like the guy from that story could be Chris and she could be the blonde walking up the driveway to the backyard.
You're right.
Dude, it's right in front of your face. And just pick up the book and read it and you'll see what's going on. If your partner tells you that they're lusting for someone else, you do not go have coffee with the person that you're lusting for. I don't know. Do you think the lust, if you allow yourself to lust for someone else, do you think the lust would fade?
If she presents herself in a situation where she could actually act on that lust?
No. If you put it to bed, you don't talk to the person, you don't see the person, does the lust fade? Does it, or will she always wonder, what if?
I can't say because I don't have the experience to be able to say.
I don't either.
I would imagine if you felt yourself like feel that thing, yeah, if you were committed to your relationship, you would immediately at least dismiss that, or not at minimum not act on it and gaslight your partner into believing that it's okay.
It's just coffee. This is not just coffee. You don't go to coffee with someone that you're lusting after if you're not in an open relationship with your husband. And from the sounds of it, they are not in an open relationship. And you definitely don't go to coffee for 2.5 hours with someone that I'm attracted to physically. You walk away from that person if you value your marriage. And I think she let him know that she does not value their marriage. She values having coffee with someone that I guess this seems like it was a high school relationship and a post-high school relationship based on the timeline.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
6-ish years worth. So
we're anxiously awaiting your update.
Yep. Thanks, Tater. I just, at minimum here, OP, I think creating a boundary and being like, hey, if you do this, this is going to be the inevitability. At least creating some kind of boundary. It doesn't even have to be a hard-ass one, but at least to say that there will be a cost to crossing this line because I'm not comfortable with it and it shows disrespect to our relationship at minimum. It's not okay. Ruh-roh.
Yeah. No. Just more of a conversation because I think like not being in a relationship and lusting after someone, like totally fine, but like being attracted to someone like intellectually, physically, like all of those things is much different from that lust feeling. So in my experience, the lust feeling always fades once you and that person, whatever that looks like.
That makes sense.
And I'm not like talking just sex. I mean, once you get to know that person, you may not like that person. The physical attraction fades. And so I guess, are you willing to risk your entire relationship because you think someone's attractive physically? Because you feel this connection to them physically? And I think that's what people need to ask themselves about cheating. Not that they would, but if you're going to do it, you're going to do it. But I think the lust will fade and you're left with the same relationship with your husband. Now you've tainted it.
Yeah, you damaged it.
Yep.
In his case, like he's willing to take some dings in the very thin armor that he's got on. I think it's a veil of denial. I think it's just denial, and eventually he's going to end up resenting her enough for this that he's going to it's going to blow up. This will blow up.